Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is bigger than us, to the big mystery beyond the veil, to the synchronistic moments of connection, the surprises, the things that we don't know are going to happen, and then the things we don't want to happen, and then they do happen, and then we go through it and we're like, hey, that was actually a big lesson and I got a lot out of that. There's some gold there. So the twists and turns of the divine and being in a body on earth. So I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I love these conversations, which is why I have this podcast, Soul Nectar Show, because I just love these conversations. It helps to make sense of the madness, helps me to bring some order to all that stuff and explain it somehow so I can be with it. I don't know if you feel the same way, but if you're out there and you do, maybe you want to have some community where you can talk about this kind of stuff and your awakening and your process without being judged and without being told you're crazy or shunned or all of that kind of stuff. Where you really have real conversations about what's actually going on. And, hey, you might even cry or be angry, and that's all cool too. So if you like that idea, hit me up for a discovery call. My website is carriehummingbird.com, Kerri hummingbird.com, and you can find the link there to book a chat for 15 minutes or a discovery call if you want some more time. I look forward to getting to know you. And in the meantime, I want to introduce you to another one of my friends. Rosie Aiello is here with us today. Welcome, Rosie.
And thank you. So glad to be here, Carrie.
Oh, I'm so glad Rosie's here. So Rosie, had a 25-year relationship, and you're going to hear more about it today, so I don't want to share you too much. But it was actually, could be a movie. It was an international escape from the Middle East to save her daughter and herself from domestic violence. So she was stunned by PTSD, as you can imagine, and she has reinvented herself since arriving back in the United States, started her own business, and became a speaker, a best-selling co-author, and an international award-winning entrepreneur, and she found the love of her life. So she is going to tell us more about that. And, her mantra really is all about kindness. That you deserve to be kind. Real love is kind. Love is not controlling. It's compassionate. It's not cruel. It's caring. It's not threatening. It's safe. And so we want to find out more about that. And I'm really excited. Just like all my other speakers, Rosie, of course, has tons of certifications and NLP and life coaching and all this kind of stuff, because that's what we do, right? We go on this path and we get all these certifications and we figure out how to heal ourselves. So tell us your story, Rosie, because I know people are going to be very intrigued now, like, whoa, an international, it could be like a movie, The Escape from the Middle East. And so tell us a little bit about it, and we'll just go from there.
Okay. Well, this is interesting. And this is sort of how it all started, because I would tell you my story, but as after we escaped and we started telling our story, we says, oh my gosh, it should be a book. It should be a movie. And we are working on that. So it's coming.
Awesome.
But it's a long process, but I've been here now 11 years, and the journey I've taken on, I can't even believe I'm the same person. But I met a guy when I was in college. We didn't get married then. And he's a Christian Lebanese, and he was working in Saudi Arabia at the time. And so we moved over there after I got married. So I was in corporate finance. I was going up the ladder to be, my goal was to be a CFO, right? And then I left my family, my friends, my career, everything to be with this man. And of course, now hindsight is always great to see that. But I didn't know anything. I didn't know my values. I didn't know, I just knew, well, we had some values that that we had in common, family and a whole bunch of other things, but there were some other deep things that I had no clue about. And so I always thought that there was just something wrong with me, because that's how he kind of presented everything. I mean, from before our wedding, a week before our wedding, the wedding day, when he got angry at me. And I rarely tell this story, where we had practiced a dance like most couples will do. And it was kind of time for the dance. There's a pattern, right? You're directed what to do. And it was time to do the dance. And so he was talking to somebody, and I was, waiting. So I gestured to him and I said, and I smiled and said, it's time, time for our dance. And he just gave me this angry look. I mean, just like a dagger. And it's like, how dare I interrupt his conversation? But he walked over, and as he was holding me, all I wanted to do was cry. And I smiled because it's my wedding day, right? But I felt such tension. I felt his anger, and it was just anything but a beautiful moment. And but I kept pushing these signs away, and I just kept trying to be better, kept trying to do something. And then every time he would like set a goal, like, Rosie, fold these shirts. This is how I like my shirts folded. And I'd fold them just the way he wanted. And then one day he just opened the closet door, ripped them all out, and said, this is not how I want them. So it was one thing after the other. When my daughter was an adolescent, she was 16. I was married 18 years before I even knew I was in what you call an abusive relationship. Because I'm living in the Middle East. I came to the United States every summer, but that wasn't in my vocabulary. You don't go into a marriage thinking you're going to be abused. You don't have the training, like, as my daughter would say, she goes, soldiers get trained for a long time before they go into battle. First of all, you don't even think you're going to go into battle when you go into a marriage, right? That's not how we go in, and you're not trained. And so I didn't have any tools. I didn't have any signs. I didn't have any awareness. So I had picked up a book, and I thought, oh my God, this is the relationship I am. So I told my daughter, I go, because as she started to enter adolescence, he started to abuse her and put her down and demean her and not give her space. So I said, well, when you're ready, you let me know. So she was a junior in college at the American University of Beirut, because we were living in Saudi Arabia. She was born in Saudi Arabia. We lived in Beirut, Lebanon. So we were in Beirut, Lebanon. And one day she came home from college and she said, Mom, you got to take me away from my abusive father. And within 4 months, I planned the escape of our lives.
That's so powerful. It's powerful because of how long, it's sort of like the frog in boiling water, although it started boiling the moment you were getting married. So that's, it's these signs come in, but you don't really know that that's what's happening necessarily.
No, because I just thought it was always me, just I did something wrong. I did something wrong. I have to be better. I mean, I was so successful in business and could manage my life there, but then I couldn't manage it in my personal life. But I took all the responsibility onto myself. And this is what these women do. They take the responsibility and blame on themselves, and they don't think that it could be something with him other than, oh, he's just maybe demanding. So they make excuses. I made excuses for his behavior, I think, to rationalize why I was staying in it for so long. Plus, remember, I was living in the Middle East. Now, even though I was very unhappy from early on in the marriage, and then when my daughter was born, there was nothing I would do to jeopardize my relationship with my daughter. I could have never left without my daughter. And in the Middle East, there's no battle for custody. Custody automatically goes to the father. There's no discussion until she becomes major at 18. So it's like, there's no way in hell I'm going to leave before she turns 18. So I made those conscious choices to stay because I didn't want to lose my daughter. And to this day, he still thinks I kidnapped her. And she was almost 21 when we left, but he still thinks I kidnapped her. But these are, the journey of the escape was quite interesting. And I'll share just a tidbit about it. But we always went to the United States every summer for vacation. So all three of us went to the United States. He had no clue I've been planning this. And let me tell you, on a scale of 1 to 10 on my stress level, it was probably 110. When you're trying to hide and trying to figure out how to do this, I mean, we had a live-in mate. So I packed up boxes for 4 months of just some things. Really, it wasn't that much. For some things. I took our photo albums. The first thing is the photo albums. So I had to hide from her. I had to hide from him, and he worked at home. You know, when I talk to you and I say this, I go, I can't even believe how I did it. Truly, God was watching over me, because I really don't know how I managed all of this. My brother helped me plan the escape, because, you know, your brain is like rewired and on fire, and adrenaline's kicking in, and you're in that fight or flight freeze. And I was in all of them all at the same time. That can even be possible. So when we arrived at San Francisco International Airport, I knew exactly where my brother was going to be in the airport. And so when those gates opened up, my daughter and I had our luggage carts, and we pushed our luggage carts behind my brother. I was still so terrified of my husband that I had my brother talk to him and said, look, Rosie's upset. Rosie's upset. I mean, I couldn't even have my brother say, Rosie's leaving you. I couldn't even get there. I needed a lot of psychological support in that. Rosie needs some time away from you. And so my brother, my daughter, and I turned our backs, walked out of the airport, leaving him standing alone, completely stunned. And that's how you do it.
Wow. So, wow. Yeah, it sounds like you must have been in so much terror that having an actual conversation with him was out of the question.
Absolutely. And I love that you use the word terror, because this is a word that I use, even though I am CEO of the Love is Kind Network. When I say love is kind, the whole phrase is love is kind, not terrorizing. Because to me, I lived in the Middle East. I saw and I experienced a lot of terrorism, political terrorism, right? I lived through a lot of wars. I know what it's like to live when there's terror all around you, when bombs are coming down, when you're being terrorized by the enemy. I know what that feeling is. And I also know the feeling of being terrorized in my own home. And I thought, this is my own personalized terrorist camp. And when you're terrorized, what does it mean? It means you are living in a constant state of fear. I didn't know when the bomb was going to drop, the real bomb was going to drop, or where it was going to drop. I didn't know when the explosion inside my house would happen. And that's what breaks down a human being. It's very damaging. And my belief is that to end abuse, we need to get to the core of it. That women need to understand that this is not how they should be treated. And when we end what I'm calling family terrorism, that's the root of everything. When we end family terrorism, which is sad to say, because it's just been perpetuated for generation after generation after generation, when we end that, that's when the other terrorism will end. We're going backwards. We have, and I fully support all the domestic violence organizations helping these women, but those are band-aids because of what's happened. And so to end the family terrorism is to come from kindness, to start teaching people, having women stop the cycle, break the cycle, because your children are seeing this, they're observing it. So they will either be abusers or abused unless something happens in their life that gets them on a path to clarity. It's by definition, it's been happening for generations. That's why it perpetuates itself over and over and over. And wounded people wound others.
That's true. Wounded people do wounded things. That's one of the things I say a lot. So when you looked back, you've had a chance now to decompress from this this traumatic situation, and to get some support and get some deep healing is what I'm imagining. And
Very
so
much so.
in your exploration, your inquiry of like, how did this happen to me? What did you come up with?
Well, it's interesting. That's a really tough question. When I was first going through it, it's like there was a lot of resentment, there was a lot of blame, and how could he do this to me? And I'm going to say that I wish it never happened to me. I'm not one who said I wish it did, and because I'm a better person for it. But because it did happen to me, I am now creating the life I am. I would not wish this upon anybody because it's horrible. But I took it and looked at my life, and that's why now I've created what I've created and who I am and how I'm helping other women, because you can't I think one of the biggest lessons is learning that you can't change another human being unless they want to change. And so in looking at yourself is, okay, well, the biggest lesson, or the biggest, how he was the biggest teacher for me, is to use my voice. He forced me to use my voice when I didn't use my voice for 25 years. We were together for 25 years. So I thought, okay, well, here I am, using my voice, and in such a big way that I never could even imagine. If you asked me even 10 years ago, would I be an entrepreneur? Would I be an international award-winning entrepreneur? Would I have a podcast? Would I be speaking? It's like, yeah, I don't think so, right? You can't conceive of the life that you can create. And one thing I want to share is, during those 4 months of planning the escape, and I knew nothing about personal development. I knew nothing about spirituality. I knew nothing about mantras, zero, right? I was raised a Catholic, which I, believed, and everything else. But as far as that kind of more open, tapping into the universe, I really didn't. But what I did say to myself every day is I created these mantras, and I said, my daughter and I deserve a happy and joyful life. I have only one life to live, and I don't have to be a martyr. And I said it to rationalize the guilt I was having for planning this escape under his nose. But truly, those sentences kept me alive, because I had that hope that I deserved a better life. It's like this, I have one life to live. Oh my gosh, is this how I'm going to live it? No woman deserves this. No human being. I'm just talking from my experiences of women and the children. The children who suffer because they're in the middle of it, whether they like it or not.
It's so powerful. You mentioned guilt, because I definitely have experienced that as well. It's like when you finally start to stand up for yourself, you feel guilty about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So backwards.
It is backwards. And I was just talking about that earlier today, about, helping women set boundaries and people pleasing. It's like, why is it okay for somebody to put you down, to demean you, and you just, take it because you want to be nice and you don't want to make the other person feel bad or whatever. And it's like, no, because we don't believe in ourselves. It's this whole thing about really learning to value yourself. And what does really valuing yourself really mean? And I just help women, among other things, but just like, you deserve to be treated with kindness. And it starts by being kind to yourself. Kindness takes courage. This is not people pleasing. It takes a lot of courage, because you're kind to yourself when you stand up for your values. And we know how hard that is to do. We don't speak up. We let fear take over.
Yeah, absolutely. And that word nice too. That's a real conditioning. Oh, be nice, be nice. If you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. And this whole thing about being nice. But sometimes to be kind, you have to say something that stings. Truth has a way of stinging. It has a little sting to it. When you tell the truth about something and you share your truth, the other person, when they realize this sort of maybe the impact of their actions or words, and you're sharing with them from a heartful place, that can sting. It can hurt, actually, but it's the kind of hurt that's good. I think it's the kind of hurt that leads to a change, hopefully, in the person and the relationship, so you got a new place.
And when you, I mean, you know, there's lots of there's lots of personalities and dynamics and things. But what I believe is when you give in, you give up a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
So it serves no purpose. And then and then as you give in your whole authentic self, which I was just discovering, what the heck was that? I heard, you know, when I started getting into the personal development, oh, you should be your authentic self. I didn't even know what that meant. It's like, I don't know what my authentic self was. So that was a whole journey. Okay. So now I know what it is.
It takes a while to figure it back out again once you've been compromising yourself for so long. When
Yeah,
you spend your whole life like sort of twisted up in knots and bending over for other people, and then
exactly.
you don't remember who you are, or even what you wanted to do, or why you wanted to do it, or what your thoughts were, because you're just so invested in what other people think.
Exactly. You just keep taking on their thoughts and their beliefs. They become your beliefs, and you don't even realize that they're somebody else's beliefs. And so you've lost yourself. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm learning to be me now, 100% to be me. And now I'm in the most wonderful relationship. When I first arrived in the United States, back in the United States, because I'm from California, when I first arrived, and I would hear a man's voice and I'd freak out. I wasn't ready. I'm never going to be with I'm never going to be with a man again. I mean, I've heard women say that, you know, I was in that position. I don't want to be with a man. I don't trust men. All men are bad. I put them all in the bad pot. You know?
Yeah, it's a few bad apples spoil the bunch, right?
Right. And, and of course that was incorrect thinking, but that was my feeling at the time, and you know, shifting women to not think that way as well, because it's not beneficial. But now I am with the most loving, kind, respectful man. For me, I would just say that for me. I
A good
mean, I
match
just
for you. Yeah.
he's just I just can't speak highly enough of him. And just today, sometimes I just think, I go, gosh, I just feel so respected by him. I just had a random thought as I was going up the stairs. I didn't say it to him, but that's how I feel. I mean, I'm now in a place where I feel peace, love, and joy every single day. But you know, then this is what I created, because I was looking for kindness and not looking for somebody who won't hurt me. And that kind of gets back to why I named the business the Love is Kind Network. It was taken pretty much from like Mother Teresa. And it won't be an exact quote, but it was something like, she said, if you invite me to an anti-war rally, I won't be there. But if you invite me to a pro-peace rally, I'll be there. So what did I want? I wanted kindness, because I had been treated in terror. Any woman who's been in an abusive relationship, no matter what kind of abuse, and there's many versions of it, it's terror, because you're in fear. You're in fear of being yourself. You're in fear of the repercussions. The opposite of that is kindness. That's the only way that love can truly grow.
Yeah, is to learn how to soften, learn how to soften up the hard edges, the defenses, and learn how to make it safe for yourself so that you can be kind and you can be gentle and soft, instead of the armored version of you that was on total um, alert for the next attack, the shoe to drop, the rug to be
Yeah,
pulled out. It's like,
right.
yeah, and now you're just kind of living, it's definitely a journey of coming back into center and coming back into alignment, but also connecting with that bigger presence that you are, which, makes it more, um, well, it just makes it more safe, because for me, it's like when I realize I'm eternal, I'm like this aspect of me that's eternal, then there's nothing to be afraid of anymore. and I don't have to, so I can speak up. I don't have to be afraid of that anymore.
Yeah, when and so how I got actually into, because you kind of brought that up in the beginning, how I actually got into what I'm doing and all of this is that a few years ago, my daughter and I decided to start writing our memoir, which is still in process. A memoir has a mind of its own, so it's asked to take a rest right now. And it's called 11 Hours to Freedom. And it's our journey of escape, healing, and now helping others create that same path. So one day I was taking a break. This is a few years ago. I was taking a break from writing. And then all of a sudden I just hear this loud booming voice. I mean, I know you've heard from God.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
well, I don't know if it was the same kind of conversation, but he was kind of upset with me. He was like yelling at me. He had a temper. so and he's saying to me, "Why are you resisting me?" I go, well, I go, I signed up to write for this memoir. I didn't sign up for helping these women. And he goes, "Oh, are you challenging me, Rosie?" I go, "Well, I guess." It's like, and I'm thinking, wow, Rosie, when did you get so cocky? But anyway,
Yeah.
and so then he says, look, I chose you to lead these women to freedom, just like Joan of Arc. And I'm thinking, really? Like Joan of Arc? I mean, we kind of know her ending, right? Right, Carrie?
Yeah. Sometimes it ends badly.
Yeah.
That's
So I
why
was like,
we're
I
so
don't want to go
reluctant
there.
to do these assignments when we get assigned them, because we know history has shown some things.
Yeah. So I'm just not taking that part on. But it was after that conversation. Well, what kind of conversation?
But it,
I
like a
mean,
loudspeaker in your head, right? Like the loud voice.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, you can't deny it. It's like so loud.
it was really loud because and he said, who do you think is going to win? It's like, but I tried to resist for another year, and it just wasn't working. Just wasn't working. He doesn't give up. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, well, it's like I've heard it said, you have free will, kind of.
Yes,
In
kind
the
of.
end, there isn't any, actually, in the end. It's just the illusion
So,
of it.
oh, but I tell you, I feel so blessed to be doing the work I'm doing to help women move forward in their lives, that their past doesn't dictate what they can create, and no matter how bad it seems, it can be better. And I even look at it from the point of view is I could have stayed there fighting for my life, living his life, or I can fight for my life. I'm not saying it's been a piece of cake. All this work, as you know, Carrie, it's work.
Oh, it's
It's,
tough.
asking yourself these questions, going through the healing. I felt like when I was going through one of the transformations, I felt like I was this rock in the tumbler machine to get polished. I get spit out. It's like, yeah, you're not ready yet. And it was painful. I mean, getting tumbled around is painful. And to just taking that journey of knowing that life can really be better. So I'd rather spend all the blood, sweat, and tears creating my own life than blood, sweat, and tears living someone else's life.
Absolutely. The other aspect that's coming up for me right now is it's just, it seems like this happens all over the world. I just want to say, I'm aware that these kinds of relationships, these
Oh
abusive
yeah,
relationships, they happen all over the
everywhere.
world. It's just that in the United States, we have a system that says there are groups that support women to be liberated from these paradigms, and women have a much more generous opportunity to express themselves in court in the United States and a lot of other places in the world. And I think we need to really honor that. We need to, I'm sure coming back from the Middle East, landing back in California, some aspect of you is like, wow, I'm really grateful, that I'm back in America and I have these
No
rights.
kidding. Yes, no kidding, right? Like I said, I was in Saudi Arabia and Lebanon, and I've spoken to women literally all over the world. It's like when I have the conversations, like they're describing the same man. That's how what the characteristics are of these men. But yeah, absolutely, I felt utterly grateful that I could do that, could be here and get the support. And the other thing I want to share too that's popping up for me is that so many women believe or feel that they're alone. I felt I was alone. I mean, for 25 years, nobody knew what I was going through because I was so ashamed of it, right? I was so ashamed that I got myself into this mess and how am I going to get out? And um, that shame kept me in my own prison. So I was like a double prison. And what a mistake it was. I told my brother and my two best friends in the United States at one point, but they were the only ones that knew in 25 years, until at the very end, I needed two friends in Lebanon to actually help me with the physical part of the escape. But that was it. Nobody knew.
Hmm.
So can you imagine being all alone in a different country? And it doesn't matter. Okay, I was in a different country, but they're happening here. They isolate you, but it's that shame and feeling that
Mhm.
you're alone. So if I hope that somebody's listening that can hear this, like, yeah, I'm alone, or maybe I got out, but I don't know what the hell to do next, right? It's those next steps where you feel like, oh, right, now what do I do?
There's probably also some fear, like if it doesn't work out as planned and I get caught back, it's going to be even worse.
Well, definitely. This is true. And this is why sort of, escape 101 is you never tell your abuser you're going to leave. Because even mine was not, for the most part, physically violent, but, every other thing. He was emotionally, he was verbally, smattering of sexual and physical abuse, financial abuse. I mean, I have an MBA in finance. Didn't matter. I could manage all the money, couldn't touch any of it. So, because they will get more, they're shown to get more violent, and I couldn't take that chance. When you're depending your life, right, and your child's life, you don't take chances, or you take chances, but they're pretty well thought out. It's like I had to really think, how am I going to do this? Because I was also in a situation where I couldn't book online. That didn't even exist then. The country is small enough. I couldn't go to a travel agent and book a flight, because my ID card said you're the wife of, and they would say, "Oh, you're the wife of so and so. Oh, do you know him?" They all know each other, right?
Mm.
Or other people would just talk. So I couldn't. There was no way. I had to figure out how to get out, and not to parallel my life in any way, shape, or form to Viktor Frankl's. But if you read his book, Man's Search for Meaning, how does he get out? He buries himself naked in a truck full of dead, naked bodies. So you get out with the obvious. You do desperate things to get your freedom. And I do not for one moment ever not appreciate the freedom that I have. Not for one moment. I look out my window every day. I see I'm surrounded by beauty, and I just thank God for my freedom to be me, my freedom to keep learning to be me,
Mm.
to express to be me, and now to help others. And it's like what what a wonderful experience, what a wonderful joy that I have that opportunity to do that. And I know other women can't. That talk with God,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I love you, but really, but still, it's like I've been blessed to do this work, I guess, is what I'm searching for. And I could have, you cannot determine your future. No way, when I was there, could I have thought I would be doing all of this, that I would be with the love of my life. And I will tell you, ladies, I escaped at 55. I started my life over at 55,
Mm.
right in the middle of the Great Recession, not knowing. I only had plan A, get out. There was no plan B. It was going to work. But once I landed, I had no idea what the hell I was going to do.
Yeah, you just got to go. You got to take the leap. That's that God leap that everyone talks about. You got to take the leap and know that it's all going to work out just fine. And the
Yeah.
other thing is that, um, as a you start to realize when you see hear these stories, you start to realize, oh well, we're in the middle of the Great Awakening, and all of us are here. Some of the people that have had the hardest life experiences, they had that because they're here to lead. So, and God already told you, like, you're here to do that. So you don't really have a choice.
I
Kind of,
don't.
but I'll tell you, you get to the end of your big challenge. Like I just got to, the one of the peaks on my journey, and I'm like, boy, I could really take a rest right now and just go to the beach. But actually you can't, because like it's just, you can and you can't. Like you can take
Yeah.
breaks and you can have fun and but you don't just like check out. This is not the
No.
lifetime where you're going to check out and just go hang out at the beach and have your margaritas and your mai tais. This is not that lifetime. This lifetime is the we are going to turn earth around lifetime.
It's
So,
so true.
next lifetime maybe we'll have a chance to just kick back and
Chill.
have an easy chill. But this life that you got to dig in, and it's fun. The work is fun. It's very rewarding. Um, I know that you feel this way when, as you've gone through everything, you're so passionate. You can hear it in your voice. When you go through something like this and you come out the other side with this immense life experience, and then you unpack it all and you heal and you come back into love and kindness and all of these, high vibrations, and you get out there and you share your message. It feels so great to meet you before and to help that woman climb
Hmm.
up the mountain, like to walk with her. It's just
Yeah.
like there's just nothing better than
I,
that.
yeah.
You just see the light come on, like the light, the sparkle comes back, the breath enters the body. It's like doing it all over again, but you're not actually on the front line. You're just witnessing it. It's so rewarding, isn't it?
It is very rewarding. I mean, there's nothing more than my clients that give me such joy. I could just, I mean, I could be dead tired, but I'd have the client call. I'm wide awake, and I'm
I'm
just
like
like,
right in there, healing session. I'm on duty. Oh yeah, I'm ready to go.
it's just like
More.
their presence energizes me. It's this strange, like I just I just love it. And now I even helping women find the kind love of their life. And I always say, not love of their life, but the kind one. We want to focus on their kind. And so many women have just thought, that they have to settle. And used to hear that term, like, I didn't know what that meant. I really didn't even know, but now I kind of know what it means, and I have my own definition. But it's like, you get to be 100% you. I'm 100% me in my relationship. I don't have to twist, like you were saying earlier. I don't have to pretend I'm somebody else. Do we have some challenges? Well, only when I think about it, not too many. But what I believe is that, remember when I said, if you give in, you give up a part of you, and I'm not going to do that. So I have the tough conversations because I don't want to hide who I am. And I'm blessed to be with a man who's open to listening, and we have a great way of communicating and lifting each other up and respecting each other. But we create that together.
Yeah, you create it together. My first relationship to this relationship, totally different. It's like, both of us in this relationship are each committed to our own individual exploration of our own unconscious, and to bring it into the conscious. So we're both committed without each other. We're both committed to that. So then because of that, when we come together, because we're both willing to do the self-inquiry, then when we come together, it's a whole different conversation that's happening. It's not a
Yeah.
blaming conversation. It's not a
Right.
judging
No,
conversation. It's not a
right.
controlling conversation.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a like, hey, like, here's us together and we're looking at the stuff and we're like, look at this pattern. This is really interesting. we're looking at it together. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this, and is it uncomfortable? Well, sure, but it's nothing like before. It's nothing like that.
Exactly. There's no blaming, there's no
Right.
controlling. There's just like, wow, this is so nice. So this is what a healthy relationship looks like.
Compassionate curiosity, and let's work through it together. And this must be,
Exactly.
then it becomes like, well, where's it from? Oh, it's from my mother's side. Or, oh, I remember this happened when I was, so it's like it's more like it's like a self-inquiry, that you can do together. It's just so much
Yeah.
more interesting.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And that's what I find in this relationship. And it's just like we just figure it out. And but whereas
Together.
the other, yeah, together we figure it out together, whereas the other one was just, domination, contention. I would ask a question and he would blow up at me in my former relationship, so I got afraid to open my mouth. That's how you lose your voice.
Yeah, because you get afraid because of the conflict. I think that, uh, you know, I also had a disdain of conflict for a lot of my life. So I understand if you're out there and you're like, I can't stand conflict. I want to hide, or I want to run away, or I just, I'll just go and do my own thing over here. Or I'll just, I understand that. And sometimes it's not safe to stay in it, like Rosie's shared with us. It's not safe for you to go into that conflict sometimes. You don't want to do that alone. But there's other times when it's really important to stand in your power and really tap into your inner strength and speak your truth. And to learn how to do that, I think as women, is so vital today on the planet. We need the wisdom of the women and the mothers to come forward again, so we can heal the planet. We can heal the sacred hoop of humanity, of life on earth. We need to heal that, and we need women's voices to do it. We can't do it without the women speaking up. So I'm really glad that you did that, Rosie. I'm glad that you spoke up, and you made yourself safe first, and you got yourself and your daughter safe, and then now that you're free again and you're safe, that you're speaking up and you're sharing and encouraging other women. So thank you for all that you're doing in the world. It's so appreciated and so needed.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And behind the scenes, we're working our tails off. We have fears just like everybody else. Things happen to us, but learning the tools and practicing those tools help us get through it a lot faster.
Beautiful. So speaking of tools, how do people get started with you?
Well, there's a couple ways. One is to take this assessment. It's called the freedomfulfillmentquiz.com. It's a free assessment. It takes like 4 minutes. It tells you, where your challenges are, where you need to work on, and then, some of this, how to get, where to really have your own focus. It takes 4 minutes to get that clarity. And then we can have a discussion about it, because it's when you have the discussion that you get the full clarity of where you're at. So that's really awesome. And then I launched a podcast called Vulnerable to Valuable, where I have interesting guests like you and others, and I do a little mini masterclass. And just go to vulnerabletovaluable.com. And when you do, you can subscribe there and get a free guidebook on the full 11 fulfillment freedom pillars. This is the path that I took to create my prosperous, productive, and joyful life. So just
Beautiful, Rosie.
vulnerable-to-valuable.com.
Awesome. So I'll be adding those links to the show notes, everybody. So definitely go check that out and sign up and get that valuable information. Go check out my interview on the podcast there. And so we're going to give kisses. But before we give you kisses, I'm going to ask you for a little favor. You know what I'm going to say? I say it every time. Can you please leave us a 5-star review and share out this interview to anybody that you think could really benefit from it? Because, there's probably somebody that in your sphere that you may be having some of these challenges, and they might not feel safe to talk to you about it. But if you share this out, even on your social media or someplace, they might see that, and it might be exactly the difference that they need. So we are all doing this together. So let's share these messages out. I appreciate you doing that. It helps us to be seen. It helps us to share the wisdom of our guests here, and who are here to help people and serve. So thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate you. And now here come your kisses. So you want to join me? We're going to give kisses.
Sure.
Here come your kisses, everybody. We love you.
Love you.
We'll see you next week on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now, everybody.